All right, so we just sawed those boards on our sawmill, and let's use the moisture meter, but I think they were like in the 20s. Let's just check. All right, I gotta like lean over this side here, so hang on. All right, 18, this is pretty wet over here. 19, 36. Okay, so the plan is we put them in here with some stickering, and I have to go get the heater and a cord. I think we're just gonna set this up and see what happens overnight. A little bit of makeshift baffling there. We're gonna put the little space heater over there and top it off. All right, space heater. Uh-oh, we gotta fix that one. So we have return air temperature. We got air temperature coming out of the fan. That's air temperature at the end, and we have one of them underneath that board to measure board temperature. It's not core temperature, but it is board temperature. All right, this took a bit to set. That was kind of fun. So we got the top onto the chamber, and on the top of the chamber is what I expected. I'd have electric cords. We got a power strip. This is our controller. We got it set for 120 degrees F. It goes through an arc fault GFI to the fan, which is set on low. We have temperature monitors in there. This is return temperature, that's heater output. This one is tunnel temperature, and this is core temperature, well, wood temperature. But I just jammed the probe underneath the wood. And over here we have a probe that's keeping track of temperature data logging, and our controller, which is set to 120, says it's at 81 and 48% humidity. And we have annotated all that on our chart, and we're going to let it run for a few minutes while I clean up and see what changes. And we also measured moisture content with our moisture meter, and so that was 36, 19, and 18. Boards 1, 2, and 3 down. All right, we got power running from where our pool filter is over to here. It goes inside, and it's gonna run for a while. Yahoo! This is awesome. Okay, it's been what time is it now? Been over 10 minutes because this step. This was up to almost 100. So the inlet temperature is 75. The heater output's 103. The chamber is 75, and the wood's 71. And the controller says it's at 110 and 26.5% relative humidity. All right, we're just gonna fill out our chart, and then I'll let this run for a while. It's supposed to start raining in a little while. It's getting dark, so we probably won't be checking too much more out coming out here in the rain. We'll let this run overnight. All right, I believe it's May 13th, Wednesday, the morning after that we started this. So I'm gonna open this up. I need 2 hands though, so I'm gonna put you in my pot. All right, let's have a look. This shows that it has been cycling probably like 100, and so that's 15, so 10, like 115 has been cycling around on this one. The controller says it's 116, 23%, and inlet temperature is 89, output of the fan's 112. Looks like the chamber's 95 and the wood's 98. All right. I think I'm gonna slide this panel and just have a peek inside. 11, 12. All right, so with the moisture meter, 17 was 36, 8 was 18, and 11 was 18. So this definitely is in the range of outdoor material. So gotta take the grandson to the library, so maybe after lunch we'll turn this off and let it settle back down and see what it is. I don't know, this was pretty good. I like this. Okay, it is like 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Sun's pretty bright. So we got our final readings here. The heater output's 117. I guess our chamber's 99. Which one is which though? I'll have to check and see. And the wood, yeah, I think the wood's 96, the chamber's 99. So wood temperature got to 96. Our controller's at 119 and 24.2% humidity. So we're going to close this and turn it off. All right, then measure. It's easier to see up here. So this is at 12%, 9 and 13 for moisture content. I'm going to turn it off, and you can see it's like just between 115 and 120 is where it's controlling. So we're going to turn it off and let it cool down by its own. All right, we're at that point where we turn this off. It went down pretty quick, and then slowly the chamber temperature is going down to about 60, which is probably like 55 outside. So let's see. So that's 5 hours. So that's like a half hour, and this is probably like 4 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it took like 4 hours for the temperature inside the chamber, all the wood and everything, to come down to 60. All right, we're going to set this up. Rolled up the electric cord. I think we're gonna just leave all the electronics piled inside, get the wood out. So we got 6 dimensional 2x6s, drying down to at least 15% moisture content. We're gonna take this in because we gotta look at some of this stuff. This thing is doing some wacky stuff. I think the batteries were shot. Yeah, and we've closed this up. I liked the first run. That was enjoyable. I really enjoyed using that. That was like not too much hassle and did a good job. Okay, this is the data from the 120 Fahrenheit kiln run, the first kiln run outside. So just quickly, over here we have the day of the week. This is the date. These are the times. That's hand typed back in a certain format, so it automatically calculates minutes, hours, days type of thing. This is the controller. It has a set point, it has an actual reading, and it has a relative humidity. These are the 4 probes. Measures inlet to the heater, outlet to the heater. This is a temperature in the in the chamber, and this is the wood temperature, not the core, just outside the wood. This is calculated effective moisture content, calculated from the temperature and the relative humidity. And this is moisture content of 3 different boards that I measured with the handheld device. So that's my data set, and now let's look at the at the charts. So this is how to calculate the effective moisture content. There's this equation here, and there's all kinds of stuff below it of how to do this equation. So what we do is we put in the temperature of the controller and the relative humidity of the controller, and then does all these calculations, and it comes out this blue number, which is a calculated effective moisture content in percent. Okay, here we go. Along the bottom is hours that the test ran, and on the side is either degrees in temperature, or it's going to be relative humidity in percent, or effective moisture content, which is this black line, in percent. So here's the temperature of the controller and the temperature of the heater outlet. So that started and then slowly rose up to about 120. That's what it was set for. And this is where we turn the temperature off. So this isn't too nothing weird there. I mean, slowly the temperature is going to go up as all the wood and stuff dries and the moisture comes out. When we turn the temperature off, the heater off, about a half an hour it dropped down to 80, and it took like 4 hours to get down to 60 degrees, which is about what the outside temperature was. So, as expected. So these lines are like the chamber temperature, the wood temperature, the inlet temperature. So they all kind of, the chamber temperatures all kind of basically stay the same. The wood of the temperature kind of dictates the temperature of the chamber because it's soaking up wood, I guess. I don't know. I'm just making an observation that these lines all kind of go together. So, and this is the relative humidity started, I think, like 45% or whatever, and then quickly dropped down to like 22, I think this was, and kind of slowly goes down. And this, I think, as the moisture comes out, then the temperature can slowly keep rising up. All right, and this is the calculated effective moisture content. I think it started up like 8.6, and then pretty quickly within the first hour, let's say, it dropped to like 4.59, and it kind of stayed there for most of that. So that is, I believe, what steady state moisture content the wood would be in if you left it there long enough with that. So, like, I'm not an expert in any of this kiln stuff. I'm just making some observations from the data I see. But I'm pretty happy to see that it took like 4 or 5 hours for the temperature to come out of there. There wasn't that much wood in there, and it's just basically foam insulation. So I think it was pretty well insulated for 60 degrees outside temperature. Okay, and this chart is of the moisture content. We had 3 boards. Board number 1 with my handheld moisture meter started up around 36. You can kind of see that it went all the way down to something like 8, I think it was. Right, and then board number 2 started somewhere around 18, and that kind of went down to like 8 or so and kind of stayed there. And then board number 3 started about 18, 19, and that went down, but it went back up, and I'm not sure why, although I did have the hatch open towards the end. So I think steady state, if we left this long enough, these lines, the actual moisture content with the handheld meter would eventually come down to, after a long time, down to where the effective moisture content steady state would be. You can kind of see the relative humidity drop slowly. So I don't know, I was surprised to see this one drop so much. Yeah, so that's been pretty interesting.